I listened to 97 new albums this year, y'all. 97 of them. Maybe 100 and something if you count the requests I get from here and there. And I gave myself the difficult task this year for the very first time to choose 20 out of those 100 and something albums that I felt stood out this year. It was very exhausting. It was very difficult to do. You know, I spent 3 hours just trying to get this shit figured out, but I finally have my number. I finally have my list, and these are my personal 20 favorite albums of the year, the best albums of 2020 in my opinion that I felt stood out. Some of you would rate these a lot more higher in the list, and that's okay. These are just my personal opinion. And yeah, let's just get right to it. I don't want to keep this intro going too long, so yeah, let's go. Starting at number 20, The Hustle Continues by Juicy J. I still can't believe that at 45 years old, Juicy J is still a very foul and a very fucking like crazy artist. You know, Juicy J, whenever he makes music, he just like fucking like always like does this crazy shit, and it's just the funniest shit ever. And you know, I think at this point we will all always want to see what Juicy J does next. You know, he is just like Wiz Khalifa. You know, like they both like didn't change at all. They stayed the same person, not only in their personal life but in their music. And I think that's the reason why we all love to hear what Juicy J does next. You know, he definitely did create a pretty great and like sort of lit trap album. You know, like I said, I don't really fuck with trap albums that much, but Juicy J is an exception because he creates a lot of dope music all the time. You know, I love all the features with Wiz Khalifa and, you know, NLE Choppa, you know, the few songs with Logic as well. You know, ASAP Rocky also showed up in here. You know, Juicy J just always has a way to collaborate with a lot of great artists. You know, the reason why this album is at number 20, you know, it doesn't, I don't think that it's a terrible album. It's just, you know, some of the songs on here weren't that great. You know, there was one song with Logic that I felt was kind of cringe. You know, that song with ASAP Rocky, I didn't think it was that great. And you know, little Baby was on this album as well, which made it fucking obnoxious in my opinion. So there were a few songs that I felt were not that great, and you know, they weren't as great like when you would expect what Juicy J would do. But nevertheless, I still do think it was one of the best albums that came out this year, and it's definitely worth hearing. Number 19, The Allegory by Royce the 5'9". Royce, in my opinion, is a very underappreciated rapper. You know, I know I say how many times that Eminem is my favorite rapper, and that will never change. But I will say, however, if Eminem were to retire or God forbid die tomorrow, and there was one rapper that I think could like step into his shoes and, you know, like sort of like take over and become the new Eminem, it would definitely be Royce the 5'9". Like Royce is the one rapper in the world, in my opinion, that can definitely out rap Eminem. And you know, he definitely has a lot of like creative like freedom to make a lot of like his own albums. You know, Royce like is a very creative genius, and this album just proves it. You know, think of this album as Royce the 5'9's To Pimp a Butterfly. Now, I know that we shouldn't always like say that because we don't always get that many, you know, To Pimp a Butterfly albums, but I think this is the exception because Royce the 5'9 really like created such a great and powerful and sort of woke album. You know, just sort of like talking on the corruption, you know, just being tricked by the world, you know, being tricked by all the government and shit, you know, just truly calling out the ugliness of the world. And you know, Royce is just a really like great spokesman. You know, he's really, I think he's a great advocate for those who don't have a voice. You know, I love all the features with T.I. You know, King Crooked showed up on this album as well. You know, I loved all the skits of like the like hidden fucking racism that is around the world. For example, that fucking ice cream truck skit where, you know, they're playing this like theme that we all hear, so like we hear all the time when the ice cream truck passes by, and it's supposed to be this very like innocent children's song, but you know, turns out of like a long ass time ago, some racist ass dude made a fucking like racist song towards black people using that same fucking song. So it's like, you know, we really like need to learn our history with shit. You know, Royce like really opened my eyes this year, and you know, this album is just really fucking perfect. I think you really all should check this one out. You know, he's a very underappreciated lyricist, a really underappreciated artist. You know, Royce is just the shit in general, and I definitely appreciate him a lot on this album. Number 18, Legends Never Die by the late Juice WRLD. God damn, y'all, I still am in very shock that Juice WRLD died. You know, like, that was the one artist that I didn't think was gonna die so soon. You know, I was still very shocked finding out, you know, finding out the news of his passing. You know, he really like he really like had a big impact in the music industry, in my opinion. You know, he didn't get to like live past his prime, unfortunately. And it's just kind of sad because you will always constantly wonder, you know, what could have been, you know, with his music career. You know, he could have been a fucking legend. And you know, this album just proves that he will forever live on. You know, most posthumous albums aren't always that great, and that's always because the record label doesn't really like give a fuck on making it like good. You know, they just want to make more money. You know, for example, the last two X albums, you know, they weren't really that good, and they you know, a few of the Little Peep albums weren't like that great either. You know, it's just unfortunate that most of these posthumous albums don't get to be created the way the artist like wanted it to be. But this is one of the few exceptions. You know, I will say that it's definitely not a perfect posthumous album, but when you compare this to other posthumous albums, you know, it definitely isn't that bad. You know, it definitely is a really like great and worth, you know, hearing album. You know, it's a very sad project. You know, you can obviously tell that Juice WRLD was really like trying to get better, and just, you know, like right when he was about to get better, you know, he just died before he could prove the whole world wrong, that he's not just the like typical like rapper that takes perks and is addicted to pills and shit like that. So it's just really sad to hear it, but you know, at the same time, you get really happy because, you know, he at least died doing what he loved, and that's making music. So yeah, definitely go check this one out. It's a very sad project, and you know, I think anyone would enjoy what Juice WRLD had to say, you know, before he died. Number 17, Song Machine Season 1, Strange Times by the Gorillaz. If I were to give a very quick summary on how to describe this album, if the Now Now was the Fall done a lot more better, then this album is Humans done a lot more better. You know, the Gorillaz is everybody's favorite virtual band. You know, they are one of the most creative ones. You know, they are probably the best virtual band in the world, especially because they're still going. You know, they just always create like such a like unique and magical experience, and this album is no different. You know, this album is packed with guest lists, and you know, they have a lot of obscure artists that I never thought would work well together. You know, they have songs with Schoolboy Q. You know, they have a really great duet with Elton John and Black. You know, like two artists that I didn't think would ever sound good, but they really do. You know, they collaborated with JPEG Mafia. They collaborated with a Chinese group in this album as well. You know, they just really stepped outside of their comfort zone to like create such a diverse project, such a diverse experience. You know, the lead singer of the band is still like such a great singer. You know, his voice is just very iconic and unique. You know, you will forever like love that, to hear that voice, that very like deep and raspy voice that we all love. So I definitely gotta give a shout out to this album because it is a really great and unique experience. You know, I think a lot of people would enjoy this album so much. You know, it is one of their best projects in a while, and I don't know how they're going to top it off, but I'm pretty sure they always will. And yeah, it is just a very good project of the Gorillaz, you know, portraying the strange time that we have been living this year. And it is definitely a very important project to those who were struggling with the pandemic and with the lockdown and everything. You know, I think it's something that everyone will enjoy. So yeah, definitely go check this one out. Number 16, Unlocked by Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats. Holy shit, was this one of the best rap projects I've heard this year. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you all, Denzel Curry is a very hit or miss artist for me sometimes. You know, I think he is extremely talented and very underappreciated. You know, I think more people should really hear his music because he does know how to create some good shit. But sometimes Denzel Curry makes these songs that are very weird and obnoxious, and I'm just like, what the fuck did you do, bro? But this album was like the best shit I've ever heard Denzel Curry be. You know, it sounds like a very unfinished project, which I know sounds weird. That kind of sounds ass. Considering that it sometimes does sound half-ass and it sounds like an unfinished project. But honestly, like it was a very good concept. I love how the tracks feel unfinished. I love how, like I love that a lot of the songs are only about like a minute and 30 seconds long. It is a very short project, but oh my god, it's worth hearing, and it is so unforgettable. Kenny Beats is such a great producer. I've been getting into him a lot this year. He fucking like knows how to produce, like he is a very like nerdy and very serious like white boy just trying to live out his dream, but he fucking makes some pretty good shit. And Denzel Curry just impressed the fuck out of me. His lyrical like abilities are so fucking great. He created some of the best bars and some of the best like lyrical shit I've heard all year. My favorite bar throughout this whole album is on the song Pyro, and Denzel Curry pretty much says, "My bitch bad like battle rappers who make albums with no outcome." Like, holy shit, that's such a fucking good and clever bar. Like, Denzel Curry is super clever, and I think that this finally made me appreciate him more, and I'm definitely excited to see what he does next, because Denzel Curry at this point is a fucking force to be reckoned with. Number 15, After Hours by The Weeknd. I really think it would have been criminal of me to not mention this album at all. You feel me? Like, this is the project that a lot of people have been talking about. That like it's the most talked about project so far. And considering that the Grammys did The Weeknd very dirty and didn't nominate him at all, I honestly gotta say that it definitely deserves a nomination, because although I may not think it's a perfect album, I don't think it's like as good as the past shit I've heard from The Weeknd, but it's definitely a fucking like good and really like great experience. The Weeknd like created some of the best production value on here. He like was more uplifting. He was more poppy. He kind of like brought back that old school like Weeknd vibe that we all fell in love with when he created that first trilogy, when he like was first starting out as an underground artist. He really like stepped up to the fucking plate. And I definitely do think that he has a lot to be proud of with this album, because it is the most talked about album. It had some of the best songs that I've heard so far this year. He just really created a really great and unique experience. And if you haven't heard this album already, which I doubt you haven't, because it is a really popular album, but if you haven't, please go check it out, because it is honestly the best shit ever. And I think you will all really appreciate what The Weeknd had to do, and it will also make you pissed off that the Grammys didn't nominate him at all. Like he definitely deserves a fucking nomination. Number 14, It Is What It Is by Thundercat. Holy shit, was this a beautiful project. Thundercat, in my opinion, is one of the greatest bass players in the world. I know a lot of people don't really see it that way, but I don't know that many bass players out here, but I definitely do think that Thundercat is definitely up there. I just really love his unique shit. Like, I love how he is portrayed as an R&B artist, but he does way more than that. He creates like such a like great and funky like psychedelic experience sometimes, and this album just pretty much sums up what 2020 has been about. It is what it is. I know that he talks a lot about Mac Miller's death and just a lot of hardships and shit, but he really created this like very like happy like feel good album. He is just really good at like cheering you up on a very cloudy day, which I think is what we all need, especially this year. This album is definitely going to cheer you up. He is very wacky. He has a very like weird personality, but it's really fucking cool to see that in his music as well. He said in this album that he still smells good even though he's covered in cat fur, which if you talk to the homie Jojo, who met Thundercat I think last year or maybe 2 years ago, he can confirm it, that Thundercat still does smell good even with cat hair all over him. So yeah, Thundercat once again created a very beautiful experience. I just recently got into him, but I can obviously tell why a lot of people do love Thundercat, because he is a fucking force to be reckoned with. He is on his own fucking lane. He's making like his own path while these other people are driving straight. He definitely is doing a lot more like good shit in the music industry, and he is definitely a force to be reckoned with. So yeah, definitely go hear this album, because it is definitely going to cheer up on a sunny day, which I think on a cloudy day, which I think we all need this year. Number 13, Chilombo by Jhené Aiko. a very therapeutic and really great album that portrays the grieving process of going through a heartbreak. Although I don't think Jhené and Big Sean are broken up anymore, this album at the time that it was released was a very therapeutic project for a lot of people. You know, Jhené actually did go to Hawaii, I believe, to make this album, and I just really love that she did that, because I really love how you can like hear the waves and the oceans and just the birds and shit. Like, you know, you can obviously tell that Jhené Aiko was not only like meditating while on her trip, you know, in solitary, but she was just like really like trying to create the best sounds for this album. You know, I really love all the acoustic guitars of the production value. You know, I love that the first half of the album, you know, like Jhené is sort of like having fun, you know, not really giving a fuck that the breakup happened, and then you get towards the middle of it, and you know, she's starting to miss her significant other that she was with. You know, she's starting to like regret the breakup, and you know, she's like starting to lose herself. And then you get to the final half of the album, and it's Jhené Aiko like pretty much just like coming at peace and just like finally being okay with it. You know, they always say that the hard part is letting go, but it really isn't. The hard part is being okay with it, because that is something that you have to get up and do every day. And I think Jhené Aiko portrayed all those phases of going through a heartbreak like really perfectly. You know, she fucking dead ass like created such a unique and beautiful experience. You know, I love the fucking tracks with John Legend and Nas, and you know, fucking Absol was in it as well, I think, and even Big Sean himself showed up on this album, which kind of makes me wonder where they even broken up in the first place. But you know what, like, y'all do you. But either way, regardless of all that, Jhené Aiko is absolutely the main attraction on here. You know, she fucking created once again a really great and unique experience. You know, I really love all the like Hawaii and beach vibes. You know, she fucking created like such a unique album, and I definitely recommend this to any one of you. It's definitely gonna help you out, especially if you went through a very bad heartbreak. You know, Jhené Aiko has been through it many times, and you know, she definitely knows how it feels, and this is just pretty much her way of letting her fans know how to deal with it, and you know, instead of just, you know, going into a shell and never talking about it. So yeah, I definitely appreciate what she did here. Number 12, Anniversary by Bryson Tiller. The greatest comeback of the fucking year. Bryson Tiller for the longest time has been an artist that I felt people weren't ever going to give a fuck about ever again, because after Trap Soul came out, you know, it just seemed that he wasn't going to be able to top that album off. You know, Trap Soul will forever be the best project that Bryson Tiller has ever made, and it kind of proved the point right when he dropped the True to Self album. You know, that album wasn't terrible. It's just, you know, when compared to Trap Soul, it just really wasn't. And so after Anniversary came out, you know, that album is just a fucking perfect and fucking like old classic Bryson Tiller vibes that we all love. You know, once again, that really like dark and mysterious R&B. You know, Bryson Tiller like created yet again a very unique and a vulnerable experience. You know, he definitely like shared a lot of his like true emotions on here. You know, I loved all the storytelling he had here. You know, I even love the one feature on this album with Drake. You know, that one is one of my favorite tracks of all time that came out this year. You know, he fucking like that duo with Drake and Bryson Tiller was really fucking great and really like fucking unique in general. You know, I know it's kind of weird that I say that, considering that I don't like Drake at all that much anymore, but this specifically gave me that old school Drake vibe that I fell in love with back in middle school, you know, when Drake was first starting out. So that's why I really enjoyed that Drake track on here. And I just overall enjoyed the comeback that Bryson Tiller made. You know, he definitely did make the comeback that he needed and the comeback that the whole world wanted from him. And I think at this point, we should never underestimate what Bryson Tiller is going to do next, because he definitely does know how to make a fucking comeback. So yeah, shout out to you, Bryson. You made a fucking comeback, and I think this album is going to be remembered for a very long time. So yeah, definitely go check this one out. Number 11, El Último Tour del Mundo by Bad Bunny. I know what you're probably thinking. Gee, you never even talked about this album this year, so how the fuck is this even gonna be on here? Well, I actually did. And then it got taken down because a fucking copyright claim. A 21-minute video that I spent a lot of hard work on to talk about, only for it to just get fucked in the ass by copyright claims. Thanks a lot, YouTube. But regardless, I still thought this album was pretty fucking perfect, and really amazing and phenomenal in general. And I still think that I still needed to mention this album on the list because it is the best album that Bad Bunny dropped this year. Now, don't get me wrong, Bad Bunny has been making my life very difficult this year. The man dropped 3 albums. He dropped the Yo Hago Lo Que Me Da La Gana album that came out in February, and then the surprise album that came out in May, I believe, Las Que No Iban a Salir. And now he dropped this one like a few months back, and it's just been like, this man just needs to fucking chill out and let me do my work in peace, because I can't keep on doing this shit. And honestly, if I had to choose like which one of the 3 Bad Bunny albums, it definitely would have to be this one. You know, this is not only the most experimental I've seen Bad Bunny be, but it's his best project so far, in my opinion. You know, it's one of the best experimental albums I've heard this year. You know, Bad Bunny definitely stepped outside of his comfort zone here. You know, he didn't really do that much like Puerto Rico trap vibes. You know, he like did he did like a lot more like experience with the music genre. You know, he had like a little bit of that classic rock. You know, he worked a lot on his rapping voice here. You know, his vocals got a lot more better. You know, I just love that he didn't really have that many features on this album because he wanted to be the main attraction on it. You know, he pretty much created an album that portrayed what his last tour would look like. And if it were going to be his last tour, he obviously would want to give it his all and give it like his absolute best work. And I think that is what he did here. You know, I think he created a really great and unique experience. You know, the guest list on here is fucking great. You know, not only did he make a dream come true feature with Rosalia from Spain, you know, like those two have shared fans, and I think I can speak for everyone when I say that track with her was really fucking great. But he also collaborated with Jay Cortez, and even collaborated with a singer from Atlanta as well, you know. So he definitely stepped outside of his comfort zone for this album, and it is one of the best, if not the best, reggaeton album I've heard all year. And you know, it definitely is worth mentioning. You know, he is a fucking dope artist. You know, Bad Bunny can sometimes make some pretty garbage music, in my opinion, but to be honest, he is a really like phenomenal singer, and I think that he has a lot to be proud of with his album because he created a really great experience. So yeah, shout out to you, Bad Bunny. You fucking made my life really hard this year, but you know what? It was worth it because this album was the absolute shit. Number 10, From King to a God by Conway the Machine. If I had to choose one album from the whole Griselda records that I felt should definitely like deserve a lot of respect, it definitely has to be this one. You know, Conway himself has been on a fucking roll this year as well. You know, he dropped 3 new projects. You know, he dropped the Lulu project with The Alchemist. He also dropped the No One Mourns the Wicked album with Ghost LTD, I believe. And now he dropped this project, and honestly, it is one of the best rap albums I've heard so far. You know, Conway the Machine sounds like an unofficial member from the Wu-Tang Clan. You know, he is really good at working with that forgotten era of hip-hop that we all seem to like forget existed. You know, he is really good with, you know, working with that, you know, boom bap style of rap and giving it a modern twist to it. You know, he honestly is just a really dope and creative artist in general. You know, he is a force to be reckoned with. You know, lyrically, he is a fucking beast. You know, I enjoyed, you know, all the great songs, you know, with Raekwon and shit like that. You know, he just really like outdid himself here. And you know, I know that there were talks about, you know, his debut Shady Record album that was going to come out earlier this year, but it got pushed back unfortunately. But I still think that it still wouldn't have done better than this project. You know, it is a fucking beast of a project. You know, it's very hardcore. You know, it is a very fascinating and satisfying album to listen to, especially if you really love that boom bap style of rap. You know, I think Conway the Machine definitely achieved it well, and you know, he definitely deserves a lot of respect to it. And I think this will forever be a symbol that hard work does pay off. You know, I know that Conway has been doing music for a very long time now, and I think this album definitely does show that he went from king to a fucking god, because he fucking is such a beast. You know, he is my favorite member from the Griselda Records, and you know, this album will just forever prove why he is a force to be reckoned with and why he is one of the greatest rappers right now. Number 9, How to Be Human by Cutler. If I had to choose one female artist that I felt deserved a lot of fucking respect, it had to be Cutler herself. You know, I heard her on a lot of many features, you know, and always thought that she was great. And I was just waiting to see when she was going to drop a full-length solo album. And finally, the wait was over earlier this year in January. And holy shit, did she drop a very fucking like sentimental and vulnerable project. You know, like I said before, I don't really fuck with pop music that much, but Cutler is a big exception because she's very like unique. You know, she has a very like unique voice. You know, her vocals are just very fucking like great and phenomenal in general. I think she would have a very like iconic voice because she doesn't really sound like most pop artists. You know, she is just her own like unique creative genius. You know, she created this album where it's like, you know, it's like she is now in her early 20s, you know, a time where you think you're gonna have it all figured out, and you know, she is just starting to realize that, you know, she doesn't even have her shit together yet, which I feel is, well, a lot of people my age, you know, it's something that we all need to hear. You know, I know that my generation in general is really scared of turning 30 without like achieving anything. You know, once we hit 30 years old, we're just, you know, our life is just fucking over. And I think that's bullshit because I feel that in our 20s, we're like finally like trying to figure shit out, and then once we hit 30, we just finally figure that shit out, and we like start living our life like the most happiest we've ever been. So that's why I think this album is important. You know, Cutler is a very relatable artist. You know, she made me almost tear up many times around this project, and she just has a really beautiful voice. You know, she's a very beautiful artist in general, and I think you all should give this extremely talented and underrated artist a chance because this album will fucking save your life. You know, it is the best shit, especially for those who are in their 20s and you know, just really fucking going through it. I think the best way I can summarize this album is by a quote that Logic said in the Everybody album, where he said, you know, I am a human that, you know, always saw that adults really don't know shit, and now it's scary because now I'm an adult that doesn't know shit. So it's like, that's pretty much how I would summarize this project. It is very beautiful, it is very vulnerable, and very relatable. So yeah, definitely go check this one out. Number 8, Stop Staring at the Shadows by the Suicide Boys. This is some of the most unique music I've ever heard the Suicide Boys do. You know, I know that for a long time they've been kind of doing the same shit, and it seems that recently they've been really like trying to make a lot of new sounds and trying to like not do their stereotypical like trap and emo rap vibe. So I definitely was really not expecting the big change that they did on this album. Think of this album as the Suicide Boys trying to do their own version of Igor by Tyler, the Creator. You know, that was Tyler, the Creator's like most unique and creative like album, and this is pretty much the Suicide Boys trying to do something different. You know, like making their voice sound different. You know, they weren't really doing that much like trap vibes. You know, there were maybe 1 or 2 tracks where they are doing that same shit, but you know, besides those 2 tracks, this is one of the most unique albums that I've heard the Suicide Boys do. You know, they really shouldn't be considered as rappers anymore. They have really evolved from being like these 2 like emo rappers to becoming like these like real like great and unique artists that a lot of people do love. You know, they made a really sad song at the end of this album called "And to Those I Love, Thank You for Sticking Around," which kind of makes you think that it's almost going to be the end for the Suicide Boys, because I know that they both made a pact that they will pursue a music career, and if shit doesn't work out, they were going to kill themselves, which I don't think they're going to, because they really did like have like a lot of great success in their like music and everything. But I will say that if they were to finally like retire, or to like finally say, you know what, we gave it our best run, but I think our music career is over, then I think this would be the best album to end it off on, because it is such a great and unique project. And I think a lot of you will enjoy. You know, it is not the typical Suicide Boy shit, but it's definitely something that you will all appreciate. Number 7, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down by Public Enemy. If I had to pay my respect to an OG rapper or an OG group, it definitely has to be the Public Enemy, especially since Chuck D recently followed me on Twitter. Shout out to you, Chuck D. I really appreciate it. But honestly, this album was a long coming and awaiting album, especially after all the shit that went on with the Black Lives Matter, you know, with all the police, brutality, the killings of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, we've been obviously waiting to see if Chuck D himself is going to bring back Public Enemy one last time to talk about the bullshit on the current state of the world. And holy shit, did they not hold back? Like, they teamed up with some really great fucking legends, people like the Beastie Boys or Run DMC, Nas, Rhapsody, fucking YG showed up in here as well. Public Enemy just really created such a great fucking album, one of the best, if not the best, Black Lives Matter album that I've heard like this entire year. Public Enemy has always like been the type of group to like always talk about the like injustice and the systematic racism bullshit that goes on in the world. And it seems that now more than ever they're like more fucking pissed off about it, because back then when they were starting out, they were yelling fight the power, and they're still very sad and heartbroken to see that even now 2020 the current generation are still yelling fight the power. It's like, shit just doesn't end. And, Public Enemy they seem a lot more pissed off this time. Like I wouldn't say they weren't pissed off when they first started out. Obviously when you're young and you experience all the all the bad experiences when it comes to like being a black man in America, you obviously feel very angry when you're a child. But now that all the Public Enemy members have like lived almost a full life now, and they're witnessing all the terrible shit still going on, obviously they're still kind of pissed off that the new generation still has to go through it as well, just like they did. So yeah, it is definitely a very powerful like Black Power album. Is a really great like empowerment album in general, and I think you will all enjoy it. It is very classic. There's no modern twist to it. Like, this is pure like golden era, like fucking 90s/80s version of rap that we all fucking love. Like, this is the equivalent to white people say that like what real hip-hop looks like. So yeah, shout out to Public Enemy. They fucking made a really good fucking album, and yeah, like I will forever be appreciative of this album because like they have finally brought back that golden era that we all love. Number 6, 3:15:20 by Childish Gambino. Donald, you piece of shit with your fucking surprise album. Holy fuck, was this an album that nobody was expecting? And if you're wondering what this album cover is, it is actually the alternative cover. I think it's a lot more better than having just the white ass screen right here. But anyway, Childish Gambino at this point should never be considered a rapper anymore, because even after we heard Awaken My Love, it is clear that Childish Gambino has been doing more than just hip hop and R&B. Like, the man has just pushed himself to be one of the best and unique iconic artists right now, and I just love what he did here. He collaborated with people like Ariana Grande. I think 21 Savage is on here as well. But I just love how he like worked with a lot of different genres. It's a very weird album to try and get into. I know a lot of people had a problem with it because they felt it was like too weird or too fucking like too obscure. But to be honest, that's what Childish Gambino is. Like, he is a very obscure and weird artist. He has said many times that he really likes weird shit and music, and you don't really see that a lot these days. And that's what he brought back, a very weird and unique experience. A little bit of R&B, a little bit of rap. There's even a fucking like country song on here as well. Childish Gambino just really stepped outside of the box on here. I know that a lot of Gambino fans feel very sad when you hear this album, because I know that Gambino has said many times that the next Gambino album he drops is going to be the final one. And I don't think is true now, because honestly, after hearing this album, this album is just too good of a project for it to just be in his last album. So I do think maybe there's hope that Gambino is gonna keep going for as long as he can. But if this happens to be the last project we ever get to hear from Gambino, let's just say that he ended off on a fucking bang. Like, this project is fucking beautiful, and I think you will all enjoy it. Number 5, No Pressure by Logic. The Retirement album by Logic. Officially Logic has finished his music career. You know, supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, but this is pretty much going to be his goodbye album, as Logic has finally now become a Twitch streamer and is focusing more on taking care of his new family. And honestly, I felt that at this point, nobody was going to give a fuck about Logic anymore, considering that the past few projects he's made hasn't really been that good, especially the Confessions of a Dangerous Mind album. But honestly, I was really excited for this one because Under Pressure is my favorite album by Logic, and it is one of my top 20 favorite albums of all time in general. And I was really excited to see what Logic was going to do here, and he really like impressed the fuck out of me. Like he did a really like good job on here. You know, he went back to his roots. You know, he brought back that boom bap style of rap. You know, he showed everybody why at some point Young Sinatra was the shit, and why Logic was the most talked about rapper at some point. You know, and I think that this is a symbol of the fucking legacy that Logic left behind. You know, he has been making music since he was a teenager, and just to see him go from a very poor kid living on his own, just making music, to becoming the artist that he is now, you know, I think that he created a really like dope and important project that a lot of his fans are going to appreciate for a long time. You know, obviously it's very sad to see him go away, but if anything, we should feel happy, because this is a celebration of Logic's life, his music career. And although it may be sad, you know, he left a hell of a legacy that will never be forgotten, and this album will forever be talked about and remembered as the day that Logic created the best going away album of all time. So yeah, definitely give this album a try. You know, Logic, I know Logic is kind of a cringe artist for a lot of people, and I don't blame you, but you know what, this is the good shit. This is the good fucking Logic music, where he's not talking about being biracial the whole time. Number 4, Nectar by Joji. I gotta say that for the longest time, I've been really into Joji. You know, this man is so fucking unique, you know, considering that I knew him as Filthy Frank at first, you know, considering that he went from that to Pink Eye to now everybody's like favorite Japanese icon Joji. You know, he definitely like created a lot of great shit as Joji, and he still does. And this album will forever go down as some of the best shit that Joji has ever made. You know, I love how unique this project is. You know, I love all the old school Joji vibes. You know, I just really overall love just what he did here. You know, he created some of the best and unique projects. You know, he definitely has been working a lot on his voice. You know, he sounds like a fucking angel throughout here. You know, he steps outside of his comfort zone so much. You know, he definitely like wanted to make this album a lot more weirder instead of it being just a bunch of sad music. You know, don't get me wrong, there is a few sad songs on here, but you know, I just really love how you know, a lot of this project just sounds like that, you know, OG like fucking Filthy Frank and Pink Eye shit. Like he is still a very iconic fucking meme, and will forever be. And he just really stepped outside of his comfort zone here. Like, he fucking created such a beautiful project, especially the song Mr. Hollywood. Like, that one is a fucking tearjerker. And I even enjoyed, you know, the songs with Diplo, and you know, the song with Lil Yachty is so fucking weird and great. You know, this is the equivalent to what Gambino means when he says he really loves weird shit in music. Like, Joji is the prime example, and he definitely created a very dope and important project that is going to be remembered for a very long time. So yeah, definitely go hear this album. It is the absolute best. Joji is a fucking force to be reckoned with, and at this point, we should expect the unexpected from Joji. Number 3, Detroit 2 by Big Sean. Big Sean, in my opinion, is one of the most underappreciated and underestimated rappers of our time. You know, I don't think a lot of people take him seriously, which I can understand, because there are some songs that Big Sean makes that makes me kind of cringe. Like that ass song, fuck that song. Like I wasn't really fucking with Big Sean at first when he first started out, and then as he kept going in his music career, you know, he just got a lot more better and better. You know, he took himself more seriously. You know, he like challenged himself a lot with his, you know, lyrical abilities and everything. Like he definitely like created like some pretty like dope music for the past 3 years now. And you know, for this being the sequel to one of his most beloved mixtape, you know, he fucking creates a really great open love letter for his city. You know, I loved hearing all the stories from Erykah Badu and, you know, Dave Chappelle about, you know, going to Detroit. You know, why Detroit is a very like well-respected city. You know, I know that that's kind of weird to say, considering that a lot of people don't really like see it as a really like great place to live in. But hey, it was Big Sean's home, and you know, it's what keeps inspiring him to create the music that he does, and it keeps inspiring him to like keep going. And I just really love the open love letter that he made to his city. You know, it is such a beautiful project. You know, features with Post Malone, you know, Eminem shows up on it, T Greasy, you know, just all the Detroit modern legends that we have right now show up to join Big Sean on the Friday Night Cypher one. You know, like that song was so fucking crazy, and just as this whole album was so hype. I know that it's a very hit or miss album for a lot of people, which I can see why. And you know, the only reason why he is at number 3 is because Big Sean is one of my favorite rappers of all time. He's in my personal top 10. But to be honest, he definitely has a lot to be proud of in this project. You know, he created such a beautiful and fucking like really personal album to him, and I think that's really cool to see. So yeah, definitely go check this one out. It is one of the best rap projects of the year. Number 2, Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen by Kid Cudi. Fun fact, Eminem's album was actually going to be a number 2, but then Kid Cudi announced the album, and I told myself, you know what, if this album turns out to be the best shit ever, which I already know it's going to be, then I will gladly put Eminem on the honorable mentions, because I know for a fact Kid Cudi is gonna fucking destroy the music industry. And that's exactly what he did. Holy shit, Kid Cudi came back with probably the most anticipated rap album of the year. You know, I don't think there has been any other rap project this year that people have been so excited for since the day that Kid Cudi announced this album. You know, ever since he announced it, people have just been waiting and waiting to see the conclusion to The Lonely Stoner, the trilogy that got this man famous, the most beloved series in any music album category. You know, the Man on the Moon series will forever be a fucking classic. It will forever be the album that not only saved Kid Cudi's life, but it saved a lot of people's lives in general. You know, this is such a beautiful project with Kid Cudi shining a light on people like Trippie Redd, and you know, he even had a surprising posthumous verse with the late Pop Smoke that I wasn't expecting at all. You know, Kid Cudi just created such a unique experience. You know, it is a 18-track album, I believe, with just only 3 features, and Kid Cudi just being the main attraction overall. And he just created this like very beautiful project that really like stuck with me, especially with the song The Void. You know, I will fall in the void just to avoid anything that can bring me down and fuck with my throne. You know, that is a quote that I'm going to live by for the rest of my life, because Kid Cudi just will forever know how to hit you in the feels when you just don't want him to come out. And yeah, just this whole project is just beautiful. It was definitely worth the wait, considering that it's been nearly a decade since the second Man on the Moon installment. You know, Kid Cudi definitely made the comeback that he needed, the comeback that the world wanted from him. And you know, he is definitely going to receive a lot of fucking attention, a lot of, you know, respect that he should always have, because Kid Cudi is definitely a fucking legend out here. I think the best way I could describe this album is if the first few Man on the Moon albums were Kid Cudi like really going through it, trying to find that pursuit of happiness, then this album is Kid Cudi reassuring everybody that he has finally found it, and he is finally like comfortable with his life, and he is at a point where he is the most happy he's ever been, which is really great to see, considering that he went through a lot of like past issues with his, you know, mental health. So yeah, definitely shout out to Kid Cudi. This album is fucking perfect, and the reason why it is not number 1 is because there is just one specific album that will forever hold a place in my heart for me as the best album of the year. Number 1, Circles by Mac Miller. This should be no surprise to anybody that Mac Miller's album is number 1, okay? I even told myself after this album came out, which was very early in the year, this album came out back in January, the same day that Eminem dropped his album. And I told myself, no matter what comes out this year, I don't give a fuck. I am saving the #1 spot for Mac Miller. And rightfully so, because this project will forever be a beautiful project that Mac Miller dropped. It was really unfortunate when he passed away. It was one of the deaths that hit me really hard, especially for the whole world. Mac Miller was such a very kind-spirited person, and you just wouldn't think that it would happen to him. And it's just unfortunate because you can tell that he was battling his demons. And when you hear this album, you can like tell that yeah, he went through a rough breakup. That's what Swimming was about. He went with his breakup with Ariana Grande. Obviously it was a really rough time for him, and Swimmings was his album of trying to say, maybe I won't heal, and maybe like I'm gonna be stuck feeling sad forever. And what I really love about this album is that you can obviously tell that Mac Miller was like really trying his best to be in a better place mentally. I think that's why a lot of people really love Mac Miller, and it was because no matter what he was going through, he always wanted to bring a lot of positive vibes to everybody. Just there's a lot of positive vibes in the music, a lot of positive vibes to his fans. He just always wanted to make his fans feel happy and never sad, even when he wasn't feeling that great in general. And honestly, I just feel really happy overall when I hear this album. I know it's kind of weird because we should definitely feel sad that we lost a really kind and talented person, and that's why I do feel sad, because he was super talented. He was only 26. He definitely had a lot more shit to do, and it's just unfortunate because we'll never know what could have happened if Mac Miller like made it all the way through in his life. But overall, I just feel extremely happy and satisfied when I hear this album, because it's just a bunch of like happy vibes. Mac Miller like doesn't really like give off that much like sad boy vibes here. He really was trying to get better, and I just loved hearing his voice on here. I loved hearing like all the production value. It was so unique. It is one of the best production values I've heard in a Mac Miller album in such a long time. And although Mac Miller did die at 26, he definitely left behind one hell of a legacy, because he will always be remembered. And I think I speak for everybody when I say that this album will always have a special place in all of our hearts, because he was just a really well-respected artist and such a talented artist, taken away from us way too soon. And if anything, this album will forever show us why Mac Miller will forever be an important person to us and an important person to the industry. And I hope you all agree with me when I say that this will forever be the best album of 2020, and it is going to be remembered for a very long time. It is gonna go down in fucking history as one of the best posthumous albums to ever come out. Like I said, posthumous albums aren't that good overall, but the producer and Mac Miller's family on this album, they took their absolute time to make this perfect the way Mac Miller wanted to, and I'm so glad they did, because it is such a beautiful project. I'm about to get emotional, so I'm gonna stop talking. But yeah, go hear it, please, if you haven't already. It is fucking beautiful. And there you have it, you guys, the 20 best albums of 2020 in my opinion. Do y'all agree with the list? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I would definitely love to hear your opinions on the comment sections down below. I would love to have a conversation with you. Just please don't be a dick and tell me that I'm stupid for thinking a certain album was on the list. This is just my opinion. We all love music here, and I just really appreciated all these albums, but I would definitely love to hear what you guys have to say. Anyways, I'm gonna fucking retire now. I'm going on a fucking vacation, because this shit was exhausting. This year was absolute garbage, and thank God it is fucking over. And with that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, click that button down below, all that good stuff, and don't forget to stay happy. Stay tuned next year, because the G-Vents channel is gonna be doing a lot more different shit. And thank you all so much for sticking with me this year. I really appreciate it. We hit 230 subscribers this year, which is fucking crazy, and I just really appreciate you all so much for even wanting to watch me. I think that's fucking incredible. A lot of crazy shit happened to me this year when it comes to my channel, and I just really appreciate it. So thank you all very much, and get ready for next year, because I have a lot of dope ideas now. So yeah, bye.
It's like I'm living a dream, that's how to reach. I've been cooking like Walter and Jesse Pink. It's exhausting trying to be a prodigy. Past deep.